You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel. We're next to be talking to a couple of guests. Firstly, thank you very much to both of you for coming along. I was hoping you could introduce yourself to our listeners firstly.
Right, after you. What a gentleman.
Hello Daniel, my name's Steve Baggs. I'm the Energy Manager at Kent County Council, and we're going to be talking about, I think, community renewable energy and what we're doing on the island at the moment.
Yes, I'm John Stanford. I'm the chair of the recently formed Sheppey Community Energy Trust. That's a big lottery funded project supported by both the Swale Council and the KCC to encourage renewable energy products on the island. The emphasis, as it says on the tin, is community buildings, schools, parish halls, community centres and so forth, who can gain cash benefits from the feed-in tariff and free electricity and use it for their own community projects as they choose.
And I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about the aims and objectives of the Sheppey Community Energy Trust.
That's fine, Daniel. Yes, the trust really was... main aim was to set up more community energy projects on the island with two particular objectives. Firstly, we wanted to work with renewable energy developers to try and get community benefits for the local population so they could set up their own community energy projects, and also to take forward some of the work that we've been doing through the Sustainable Sheppey programme, working with local community groups like parish halls and in particular Friendship House to help them to get the feed-in tariff and reduce their energy costs, but also just to help them keep their particular community centres or organisations going through getting an income in through something like the feed-in tariff.
And also many people are aware of climate change and want to make a contribution of their own in meeting the challenge, and this gives them the opportunity to do so. You may not know, but East Church Primary School has a whole suite of renewables, including a wind turbine, solar PV, solar hot water, which took 2 years to fundraise for and is going very well indeed. And the school's integrated climate change education into the curriculum. East Church Prison has got 2 turbines which give an annual return to the community of £10,000, I think, isn't it? Yeah. Which goes to the parish and helps fund projects. And there's a couple of large solar farms locally, one at South Lees at Minster and one at New Rides in East Church. The aim is to now roll out the programme and get more people and organisations involved. Who knows, might end up with a self-sufficient energy island.
I know you next want to talk a little bit about Friendship House and the solar PV installation.
That's right, Daniel. Yeah, we worked closely with Friendship House. They were very interested in ways that they could keep the organisation going. They provide a number of community projects there, so anything really from children's clubs to karate, and they wanted to look at ways that they could bring in an income to the building, and one of the ways that we looked at was solar PV. Put solar PV onto the roof and they could get something called the feed-in tariff, which we've been talking about, but it's just an annual payment to the organisation, and also to reduce their own electricity bill. So we looked at it and we modelled it, and we managed to get some solar panels for free from a local solar farm, an organisation called Solar Sentry, and we've now installed that, and I believe they got their first payment last month, which was £250. But overall we think each year they'll save around about £800 to £900 a year, which obviously is nice for them to get that income, but it's also going to enable them to do other things within the building. And they're looking at a number of ways that they can keep the building going with the upkeep, looking at various things that they can do to make the hall better and attract more people to come and use the hall, which is absolutely wonderful. And I think they're very pleased with it. From the experiences that we've had so far, they've done an enormous amount of work about with their PR and advertising the panels. And we would like to do more. We'd like to do more of that within the island and help small community buildings like that as much as we can.
We're talking to Steve and John. We're talking to them. Steve is the project manager at Kent County Council, Sustainability Project Manager, and John is the chairman of the Sheppey Community Energy Trust. I know you next wanted to start off by talking a little bit about the Renewable Energy Fund. I think, John, there was a bit you wanted to cover firstly as well.
Yeah, we were talking about the schools and the other buildings that are benefiting from low carbon initiatives like East Church School, which I'd like to plug a little bit simply because it's an eco school, and it had an incredible record just a few years ago when it, by virtue of its little E-team, came joint first in Britain for the Ashton Award for renewable energy. We're very proud of that. And the cash incentive for us, apart from the fact that it's a very good thing and sustainable thing to do, is that it's ended up saving us about a third of our energy costs with a combination of the PV on the solar PV and the hot water PV and the wind turbine. So the combination of those has done us a great favour in the school. Over to you.
Thank you. I was just going to say a little bit about funding, Daniel. Obviously, people will be aware that the feed-in tariff is the main source of tariff income, and that's due to be reduced as far as we know in January. We very much like to try and see a special exception made for community energy projects. We feel that it's of such great benefit to the community, as we've talked about with Friendship House, that if there was a way that we could keep the feed-in tariff for those particular areas, it would be certainly wonderful. I'm going to just say a little bit about there's certain grants available as well for community energy projects around feasibility. So you can get a feasibility study done through the Rural Community Energy Fund or the Urban Community Energy Fund, and we'll give details on the website. But you can get up to £20,000 to do a feasibility study on renewable energy. Also, if people are very interested in taking out their own shares in renewable energy, there's a project coming up, or I think it's actually about to start at Iwade and Bobbing, the Orchard Community Energy Project, where you can take out a share in a solar farm which is being set up there. And again, we'll put the details onto the website. But there is certainly funding available, and we would love to see the government come out with more funding for community energy projects. And we feel this is a special area, and like I say, we're taking this forward on the Isle of Sheppey, and we want to see 100% sustainable energy into the future.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realise that the renewable energy industry brought in £40 billion of the private sector investment since 2010, of which £10 billion represented electricity generation and £4.5 billion for solar PV alone. But looking to the future, we're going to need something like £50 billion more to meet the 2020 renewable energy target, which is legally binding internationally of 15%. So I think that's something which we need to concentrate on. There's 112,000 jobs at stake, and economic growth in the renewable energy sector is a staggering 7 times average economic growth in the country. So well worth doing.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the future next.
That's it, Daniel. Yeah, we're very much interested in working with more organisations and community groups across the Isle of Sheppey, in particular community centres, parish halls and schools, try and make them more energy efficient and look at ways that we could perhaps generate an income for them to help with those energy bills, which don't seem to be going anywhere but upwards at the moment. We would also like to work with any other organisations or groups who would like to further the interest of renewable energy on the island, and that's something that we want to take forward.
Yes, just a note of caution here. People who keep up with the news will have found that the government's just making quite large cuts in the feed-in tariff, which is the money paid to generators of renewable energy, solar panels and so forth. This is quite significant and will in fact be a bit of a disincentive, so we've got to find some way of energising people, if you excuse the pun, to put panels up anyway, and there's a whole range of benefits of doing so, apart from the commitment to slowing down climate change. So that's our task, and we're girding our loins for the battle. The future's climate change, whether we like it or not. We've got a big conference coming up, a make or break conference in Paris next month, where everyone's going to be waving their renewables flags, ourselves included. But as chair of Minster Parish Council's Emergency Planning Committee, which is another hat of mine, tasked with providing reception centres on high ground for West Sheppey residents when they're next flooded. I've been flooded 3 times, folks. I'm happy I can contribute to slowing it down. That's sea level rise.
Before you go, was there any useful contact details you'd like to cover so our listeners can find out more?
Yes, Daniel. Yeah, we've got a website. It's Sustainable Sheppey. People can find that, I believe, on your Facebook page, as well on the on your website. And people can contact me as well via Kent County Council. My details are just stephen.baggs@kent.gov.uk, and happy for them to contact me.
And my email address, Daniel, is johnstanford, one word lowercase, @talktalk.net. Glad to hear from you.
Well, I'd like to thank you both very much for coming along and introducing our listeners into what you do.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Daniel. It's been good.